Irish Guy, and it's not often that you read transfer speculation that causes you to splutter Frosties all over your living room rug. Who am I kidding? I don't own a rug. I don't have Frosties in the morning either, it's just leaves and water. But I'm sorry, the news today is that Manchester United are swooping for Timo Werner in January. I mean, regular watchers of the Premier League will remember who Werner is. You know, that tragic tale of yet another Chelsea striker flop, continuously performing like a blind dolphin trying to drive a car. It's funny, this transfer rumour reminds me of when Manchester United signed Odion Ighalo at the beginning of 2020. You know, that ex-Watford striker who, trust me, was as much of a goal scorer as I am a comic book hero. Yeah, I mean, if I tried to jump out of an aeroplane and fly, I'd wind up as a gooey splat on some chicken farm in Wigan. I mean, the sheep would be trying to lick my spleen off a rock. But lads, it's funny, when Man United loaned him in from China, which was the equivalent of the King of England asking the local homeless bloke if he can borrow his shoes, you know, the ones which smell like a mixture of fox piss and yogurt. Back then, Man United fans would have been screaming to buy Werner. He was the hot property in 2020. That is a man with so much insane hype. I mean, he'd finished that season with 34 goals for RB Leipzig. He netted 4 in 6 games for Germany that year and was tying up a £50 million move to Stamford Bridge. I know that nowadays he's got less hype than the Fraser reboot, but trust me, 3 years ago he had almost Erling Haaland levels of hype. He was probably one of the most Googled men in 2020. He was probably fending off about 900 friend requests a day, especially after that one Bundesliga match in November 2019, where he got a hat-trick of goals and assists in an 8-0 win over Mainz 05, which just so happened to be the club that Klopp supports.
I fully believe, and I'm still going to say, that Liverpool will sign Timo Werner. I fully believe that Liverpool are going to get this deal done. Timo Werner will be a Liverpool player. I still firmly believe that Timo Werner will be a Liverpool player. Werner is a blue. How about... No, I'm of the belief that Liverpool will sign Timo Werner. I'm of the belief Timo Werner will be a Liverpool player. This video could come back to haunt me, but that's how confident I am. I really do believe he'll end up at the Reds.
Yeah. Jurgen Klopp was desperate to buy Werner. That German manager was probably thinking about Werner in the bath. He was probably so obsessed with the striker that, just ask his wife. He was probably a useless zombie in the morning, just dripping Cocoa Pops all over the kitchen floor, just thinking how wonderful it would be if he could have Werner up top. He didn't get him. He wound up with money back to Chelsea instead, and so Klopp just bought Diogo Jota from Wolves for £41 million. Make no mistake about it, Jota was his plan B. Werner looked like he'd be the perfect Liverpool pick. Kreiswolf even looks a bit like Fernando Torres, which is fitting because they're both fat Chelsea letdowns. Jota scored 21 goals in his first full season at Anfield. Anyone reckon Werner would have done that? Probably more chance of me ripping off my face and revealing to you all that I've been Jennifer Lopez the whole time. When Chelsea signed Werner, it almost felt like they had stopped time. Don't get it wrong, everybody was terrified of Chelsea that summer. Look at how much money they spent. Frank Lampard was like that fat kid in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, just diving in chocolate rivers, biting the heads off dairy milk animals, probably even licking an Oompa Loompa's stomach in order to aid his sugar obsession. People genuinely believe that Chelsea would win the Champions League under Lampard that season. I mean, they did win the Champions League, but Lampard was sitting at home eating his donuts on the couch, and it didn't really have that much to do with their new signings. Back when Chelsea got their paws on Werner, everybody was scared of that club, as if they were suddenly run by Voldemort himself, and they admitted to having a lair underneath their training ground where they forced missing children to watch reruns of The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I'd sooner just let the rats bite off my face. It is so weird that the entire Chelsea transfer window was such an anticlimax that it was mostly throwing stupid money on flops, which sort of destroyed Lampard's quality team that he built when they had the transfer ban. Instead of spending all that money, Chelsea would have been better off just focusing on developing their young players like Tariq Lamptey, Mark Gahey, Fikayo Tomori, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, even Callum Hudson-Odoi and Tammy Abraham. So it is weird that, yeah, they still managed to win the Champions League. But listen, Man United wanting Werner now is laughable. All the hype has long since dried up. He was already exposed in the Premier League for having the goal scoring ability of dog food. He was bought to be a Chelsea centre forward. Yeah, he scored 10 Premier League goals. 10. Even Nicholas Jackson has already got as many league goals by November as Werner managed his entire debut season. He was a £50 million striker who went 4 months without a goal. During his spell in a Chelsea shirt, there were 70 matches in which he failed to score. 70! Across his 2 seasons! How is that even possible? Torres was another £50 million Chelsea flop, but he wasn't that bad. In his second full season at Stamford Bridge, he still managed a 22-goal season as Chelsea lifted the Europa League, with him even scoring in the final. People like to talk about Torres as if he was an absolute burnt-out sausage pie at Stamford Bridge, but 22 goals and 11 assists in 1 season, in his second full season, that's not bad at all. I mean, that was such a confusing campaign. On the face of it, yeah, those numbers make it look like Rafa Benitez was able to make him cook again and replicate his Liverpool form, but what if I then told you that Torres didn't actually score a single Premier League goal after Christmas until the final day of the season? How How did he wind up with over 20 goals after that? Make that season make sense. Don't get me wrong, Werner had his moments. As a wide player, he wasn't too bad, and he did help tear Real Madrid apart at the Bernabeu in that pretty fruitless and futile Champions League second leg win, but his confidence as a goal scorer has been absolutely thrown down the sewer. He returned to Leipzig last summer, scored 9 league goals in his debut season, and is now stuck on 2 in 12 matches. Why on earth would Manchester United want to sign somebody who has now got all the self-belief of one of the blokes off the undated Bulls? He's only 27, and yet is way past his peak. That golden period, from 2016 to 2020, Werner was borderline unstoppable in Germany. Well, after Chelsea made him doubt his skill level, he really is just finished as a truly top player. You would think that Chelsea and Manchester United would have learned by now to stop sharing players. Over the last 20 years, what player has truly been a success for both clubs? Mason Mount, brilliant at Chelsea, but so far for Manchester United, looks like a spare part that's just going to gather dust in the shed. Romelu Lukaku scored plenty of goals for Man United, but was an absolute melted snowman at Stamford Bridge. Juan Mata was producing world-class levels of form at Chelsea. 33 goals and 57 assists in just 135 games. There's nowhere near that level at Old Trafford. And both Radamel Falcao and Juan Sebastian Varane were South American pudding flops at both clubs. I think Werner would be just like them. Werner really is like Torres in the fact that when they left Chelsea, it was to return to their former club. Werner crawled back to Leipzig. Torres was sold to Atletico Madrid and sure, he reached another Champions League final, but he had about as much to do with that final as he did when Chelsea got to the Champions League final. Honestly, Torres was part of 2 Champions League finals without really scoring any goals. Torres was a busted flush after Chelsea ruined him. I mean, did you see how bad he was at AC Milan? Imagine Man United had signed him instead of Robin van Persie. I mean, forget about retiring with a title. Fergie would probably left with the club in 6th. If Man United are insistent on signing a former Chelsea forward, João Felix, apparently Barcelona do not want to trigger that filthily expensive price tag that Atletico Madrid have placed on him, but he is a technically superb false 9. Why on earth would Man United want to sign another striker with bags of pace that they're just going to chuck on the wing? Man United already have plenty of fast players. What you want is a false 9. Felix could play the role of a Bobby Firmino, just setting up Rashford and Garnacho to score 30 goals a year. That should be the aim. Werner is better as a winger than a striker, because again, he's got bags of pace. But again, the last thing Man United need is another winger. Go get Felix. I mean, there are £80 million wingers who aren't good enough to get into the team. If they really are going to build this side all around Alejandro Garnacho, modelling this bloke as a future superstar, then bringing in Werner is entirely pointless. It would have made about as much sense as Man United choosing to buy Sean Wright Phillips or Joaquin in 2005 when they're already trying to focus on Ronaldo. Lads, I thought the Premier League had already forgotten about Werner. I had. I mean, the only moments where he ever slipped back into my brain is when I'm watching the opening credits of a DC film that was made by the Time Warner Company. That was it. Because he's done nothing on his return to Germany. To me, if Man United actually did sign Werner, then it's official. Someone in the boardroom has officially punctured his brain. Maybe he's after swallowing too much infected pumpkin. Maybe he has a serious head cold, which clouds his judgment, but I am sorry. If we see this German joke actually unveiled at Old Trafford in January, just 3 years after the Gallo mess, just a year after the Wout Weghorst joke, then it's official. Manchester United just look to immediately embarrass themselves after Christmas. The January transfer window is clearly just preserved for them to make absolute car crash clown signings, which will get memed on the internet. This is a club which used to make clever, shrewd buys in January, like Louis Saha, Patrice Evra, Nemanja Vidic, and even Henrik Larsson. But lately, they're just signing players 3 years after they were popular. Signing a Gallo would have made sense in 2015, when he was having a 15-goal season in the Premier League with Watford. He was even being linked with Atletico Madrid. Honestly, it's ironic. Look at what a Gallo's middle name is. Yeah, there was only one Jew they should have been signing that month, and as sure as hell wasn't that rotten pig Weasel in his Chinese comfort zone. Buying Weghorst would have looked ambitious when he was off the back of a 20-goal season in the Bundesliga. Not when he's now banished alone to Turkey after being a Burnley disaster flop. Manchester United are in the business of making these winter signings several years after they were good. It's like the local nightclub hiring S Club 7 to do a gig. I don't think any 18-year-old on earth has ever heard of them. It's like getting Leona Lewis on 10 years after she won the X Factor. No one knows who she is anymore. She probably sells pastries at M&S. Honestly, Man United, my one bit of advice, if it means anything, do not sign Timo Werner. Go, if you're going to get an ex-Chelsea striker, get João Felix or Tammy Abraham. Either one would make far more sense than Timo. Honestly, what are you thinking? Anyway, that's what do you, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Let me know. Should you buy Werner? Should you? No. No, the answer is no. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.